I just bought this $450 ring right here at Best Buy. I'm gonna open it up, take a look at it, and then I'm gonna try it out for a couple weeks also, so let's take a look inside first. So as you can see, I got the heritage style, which means it's kind of grooved on the edges of it in black, size 9. Let's open it up and check it out. So the grooves in the black are really difficult to see. You almost can't even see them, but there's those slight edges in it compared to the other style. And then also inside of the box here, we've got the charging cord in the bottom and the manual right under it. Pretty easy to set up though, as far as I know. And then there is the charging port for it. So you just put it on top of this. Looks like it fits in a certain way, and then plug in the cord right into there to charge it up. So we're gonna try this out for the next week or two, and then I'll get back to you guys, let you know if it's actually worth it and how good it actually is. I've now been wearing the Oura Ring on my finger for the last almost 3 weeks, so I'm gonna tell you guys all of my thoughts on it, everything that it does, all of the features inside of the app, all of the reporting, and more. So number one, pricing. It is a little bit expensive. They range from about $250 to $450. I believe the variation that I have is $300. It's comparable to an Apple Watch, so I don't think it's the worst price point in the world, but it is just a ring here. Number two though, with pricing, they do have a monthly subscription that you have to pay. I believe it's either $5 or $6 a month after the first month to actually get all of the data, which I think if you're purchasing the product, that probably should come with it, but it's not too expensive to have that data continually. Number three, charging. So it does last about a week or so without having to charge it. And when you do need to charge it, it charges completely fully from almost dead to 100% in about an hour, which is pretty awesome, honestly. Charging is definitely a great thing with this. So the four things that actually get tracked in the app here are activity, sleep, readiness, which is a measure of basically of those two things kind of combined, and then your heart rate consistently is monitored in this as well. So let's start with sleep here. I'm going to open up the app and show you actually my data with it so that you can see exactly what I'm seeing, everything that it tracks here. So on the sleep page, it tells you every single day how much sleep you got, so your total sleep, as well as your total time in bed. It uses that for some sort of like sleep efficiency metric as well, so percentage of how long you were in bed versus how much sleep you got. It tells you your resting heart rate while you were sleeping and gives you a sleep score based on that and all the other things below. So total sleep efficiency, also restfulness, so how much you were moving and restful in the middle of your sleeping. It tells you how many minutes or hours you were in REM sleep, in deep sleep, and how long it took you to fall asleep, which is the latency right here in the app. It also tells you timing to see if you went to bed at the right time of day. And then at the bottom, it also gives you average oxygen saturation, your breathing regularity, so how good you are breathing throughout the night, and your lowest heart rate through the night, and your average HRV as well. Next up, I'm gonna dive into the activity tab. Now, I've chosen the day where I had the highest activity over the last couple weeks, so it doesn't look like I don't move. So you see Sunday, June 11th. On this one, it tells you your goal progress. So you can basically set a goal amount of calories that you want to exercise each day, similar to an Apple Watch or anything like that. I have mine set at 450. On this day, I got to 1150 as my goal almost. So crush that goal on this day. It tells you your total calorie burn as well. I believe this is based on your weight, your height, along with all the activity that you did, your heart rate, those sorts of things. It tells you your walking equivalency. So I actually went hiking on this day. I think I hiked like 4 miles total, but it tells me my walking equivalency is actually 12.3 miles, your total steps, and then it gives you an activity score, just like the sleep score on this as well, which is those things and some of the other things you're seeing in here. So stay active, it tells you how many hours you were active versus inactive. It tells you how many times it had to alert you to move every hour. It basically wants you to stand up and just stretch out your legs every hour. So it tells you how often you did that. Meeting your daily goals, so how often you're actually doing these sorts of things, your training frequency, volume, and recovery time. And then you get a nice graph of it as well. It shows you kind of the time throughout the day that you were actually moving, when you were doing some workouts, high activity, low activity, and it lists all your workouts as well. So you actually don't have to do anything to get the workouts in here. Basically, once your workout finishes, it's gonna pop up in the app and say, hey, it looks like you went walking or hiking during this point of day. You click to confirm and it goes into the app for you. Now, I will say that with those activities, I kind of wish that you could manually go enter it as well, because you do have to go in there and confirm it and kind of hope that it knows about it, which every workout I've done, it does know about it pretty well. But like an Apple Watch or any other, activity tracker, I wish you could just go in and select it. And maybe there is a way and I just haven't found it yet, but I've used the automatic one every single time so far, and it's worked pretty well. So next up is gonna be the readiness. This is basically telling you how ready you are for the day, and essentially it's using your sleep from that night and your activity from the day before to give you a score on this. So here's a random day that I've chosen. You can see my resting heart rate throughout the night, heart rate variability, body temperature. So if your body temperature fluctuated all through the night, and actually in just a second, I'll show you guys, I caught a little bit of a cold yesterday. So my body temperature did rise yesterday as a result, and the ring kind of told me and helped me understand that I had a cold, which I already knew anyways, but I'll show you that in just a second. You get your respiratory rate as well, and then like I said, a readiness score. I'm typically in this 75 range, which they consider good, and that's based on those things as well as some others you're seeing here. Recovery index, how much activity did you do yesterday, sleep balance, sleep regularity, previous day activity, those sorts of things, your lowest heart rate, and your average HRV again. So basically all of the other things kind of summarized into one score here that you can look at each morning. So this is my readiness from yesterday. This is one of the lowest scores I've had, which makes a ton of sense because, like I said, I got sick in the middle of the night, woke up pretty sick. You can see it actually recorded my body temperature change of about 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So a little bit of almost a fever in the middle of the night there. And my readiness score is at a 49, which I definitely felt throughout the day. I mean, I would say that I could barely do anything yesterday with the cold I had. So the readiness score definitely reflected how active I was actually able to be yesterday. And last up is the home page, where all of these scores are going to be summarized, but there's also a few other things in here as well. So you can see your activity goal for the day right at the top there, your baseline and activity time, those sorts of things. You can also see your heart rate. It monitors your heart rate throughout the entire day, and it can give you a live heart rate as well. So this is what my heart rate has looked like today. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure how accurate this heart rate is, because when I went on a hike and my heart was pounding by the top of it, it said I was only in the 120 range, whereas I know that when I'm exercising in the gym, the workout machines are telling me I'm getting to like 150, 160, and I felt like I was kind of at that spot. So has me a little bit worried that the heart rate might be off. I know it uses some sort of LEDs on your finger to actually monitor that. I could be entirely wrong. Maybe my heart rate was just 120. I was at a higher elevation, so maybe it's just harder to breathe. Don't know for sure, but had a little bit of concern with that. It also tells you your ideal bedtime on here. So it tells me my ideal bedtime is between 10 and 11 p.m., what time I went to bed last night. It's basically using the data of like, when did you sleep well and when did you go to bed and when did you wake up to kind of figure out that statistic. It takes about 2 weeks for that to show up. So was waiting for that to film this, and now it's in there for me inside of the app. Now the question you've all came here for, is the Oura Ring actually worth it? One thing I'll say is, if you have an Apple Watch, it can pretty much do everything that your Oura Ring could do. The only thing is, I don't think anyone really sleeps with an Apple Watch on, so if you wanted to track sleep, I think the Oura Ring is really great for that. If you don't have an Apple Watch, it's at a comparable price point. It's easier to wear than a watch for sure, so I think it's pretty good for something like that, but I wouldn't say it's super critical. In my opinion, if you have an Apple Watch, this probably isn't worth it for you. If you don't have one and you're curious about tracking your health and your sleep, then I would say this is worth it. Some of the other little cons that I have with it, it actually is a little bit uncomfortable on my finger. So after wearing it for a couple days, I do get a bit of an indentation on my finger. The ring kind of like pokes in a little bit. There's sensors on the inside right there that kind of push into your finger after a little bit, and it does, I wouldn't say hurt, but it's definitely a discomfort after a little bit of time. The ring also, I've noticed, heats up at times. So I've actually felt my finger inside of the ring like pretty warm, which is also a little bit uncomfortable. So overall, is the Oura Ring worth it? I would say if you don't have an Apple Watch or any sort of way to track your health metrics right now, I would say it's worth it. It is a little bit pricey, but it does give you quite a bit of data. If you already have an Apple Watch and you don't care too much about tracking your sleep because maybe you can't control it anyways, I mean, people go to bed and wake up at specific times anyways, typically, then I would say it's probably not worth it for you if you already track your health with other sorts of things, or you don't care about tracking your health.